Hello and welcome to this small session with me. My name is Casper Hansen, and today I'm going to tie this yellow zonker, which is one of my favorite flies for salmon fishing here in Denmark especially. To start out, I have to prepare the tube. I use a small yellow plastic tubing that I burn a little bit in the end. Like this. Then I put on a small bead, could be a brass bead or a tungsten bead, whatever you like, depending on how deep you want to fish. Like that. And then we're ready. I use a yellow thread just to match the rest of the fly, and I start out by putting on the thread and winding it all the way up to the small bead here. Then I build up a small ball of dubbing. I use this dirty yellow goldish Salar dub in the color Alta Gold. This fly has this almost dirty yellow look to it, and I think this dubbing matches that perfectly. I dub a small ball up against the bead, and then I brush it out just a little bit like this. Then I'm gonna tie in a small underwing of yellow fluoro fiber. Make sure it's on top of the tube, 3-4 turns, and then I pull it back so that it stays where I want it to. I press down with my thumb needle here to give it a wider look, and then I can just brush through it here before I just use my scissor to taper it a little bit. Like that. And just to make sure that it has the shape that I want, I can just brush it once more. All right. To make sure that the underwing stays where I want it to, I just give it a small drop of super glue here so that it won't move anywhere. The next part of the fly is the Zonker wing, and I use this Ondrata, which is I think some kind of rat or something like that, and I'm gonna cut a small tapered strip, and I can use this as a weight for when I cut it, the base from the vise. I have a very sharp knife here, and then I just cut this nice tapered wing, as you can see here. Before I tie it in, I just prepare it a little bit. I can stretch it by pulling it, then it gets a little bit longer, which I like. And then I also brush it so that the hair goes in the same direction. This Andrata skin, I think, moves really well in the water. It's almost like a rabbit, I think. And especially for this fly, and also when stripping a fly, I think it has just an amazing movement. I have this piece ready now, and I'm very satisfied with it, but if I wasn't, I could take my scissor and just very carefully trim it a little bit more. But I think this looks nice. It has a nice taper to it, wide in the front, and then it tapers towards the end. Now I'm gonna place it on top of the fluo fiber here. I just spin the thread a little bit to make it stronger. Give it just 2 turns to make sure that the wing is exactly where I want it to be, on top of the fluo fiber, and it is now. And then I go with a few tight wraps. Then I cut off the rest of the skin here, just with my scissor. And again, to secure the fly and to make it strong, I give it a bit of super glue. I put a drop on the thread, and then I just give it a few wraps here. Then that will hold nicely. It's secured and it won't go anywhere. Then I just take a strand of angel here and put it on each side of the wing. Like this. I know I have some flesh in the small dubbing area, but I want something to blend in with the wing as well. Alright, now I'm gonna make my first hackle, and I use this, it's a whiting in some, I think it was some kind of sunburst yellow, but maybe a special color. It's very old, I haven't seen it since. But for this fly, I think it is really, really nice. I tie in the hackle here, and then I just use my knife to get all the hackle fibers on the same side. Then I use the hackle to cover up where I tied in the Zonker wing, like that. I try to just divide it a little bit like this. And then I'm gonna put in a small overwing of some body hair from the fox. Also in this dirty yellow color. I just brush it, since it is some really fine hair, and I want to take away a bit of this underwool. And now I have a nice bunch here. I'm going to tie this in here in front of the hackle. And I use this to make the front of the fly wider, and also when you tie in a Zonker wing like this, you can see it gets like this strange form where you want it to be wider over the shoulders or over the back. So to tie in a bit of very soft hair like this will blend perfectly in with the rest of the wing. I make sure that it's set on top of the tube. And it seems like it is now. 3 tight turns, and then it's ready to be cut off. I really like rubber legs on a lot of my salmon flies, especially here in Denmark, where you have to work the fly a lot when you fish it. So on this one I like to put in a pair of yellow rubber legs. They move a lot in the water whenever you like strip the fly, but also it gives a nice touch in the colors because they are so clear and often fluorescent or something like that. So I use these yellow rubber legs and I put them in on each side of the wing here. A little bit on the lower side of the flies, which you can see why in a minute. Here we are. And they are going to stick out quite a lot, more or less 90 degrees from the fly, but that doesn't mean anything other than it's going to move a lot in the water, which we like. So I'm going to let them be here now. I think they are in a nice position, and then I'm going to put in the last hackle. And I use this naturally dyed yellow rump patch from the pheasant, which gives a really nice look to the fly. I tie it in the tip section, then I fold it back, then I cut off this part, and then I do with this hackle the same thing as I did with the first one. Just use the scissor or the knife to put the fibers on the same side. And then I'm gonna wrap this like that. I'm gonna cut off the stem here, and now I am ready for the last part of the fly. As you could see, I left a little bit of the fluffy part of the pheasant feather, which now is the one in the front, which gives a nice, very lively look and very lively fly. Now I pick out two of these . Just place them on top of each other to make sure they have the same length, and then I take away the fluffy part. As I said earlier, I want the rubber legs to be a little bit below the middle of the fly when you see it from the side, and that's because I want the jungle cock to go above the rubber legs, so they can swim free. Here we go. And now I can just cut off the stem here of the jungle cock. To finish the fly, I put on a small cone. And with a small drop of super glue, just cover the thread, pull everything back. Like that, and then I can press the cone onto the fly like that. And just to make sure, I just pull it hard to make sure that it sits where I want it to. Now I can trim the rubber legs to give them the length that I want, which is maybe like that, a little bit shorter than the wing. And then I just take the fly. As you saw, I tied in a little overwing of hair to make it blend with the Zonker wing, and now I'm just going to brush these together. And now all that's left is to cut this off and melt. Small color like this. And then you have the finished yellow Zonker fly. When I fish this fly, I always mount it with a loose hanging triple or double hook. I pull the line through a piece of silicone rubber, some hook cover, and then tie on maybe a size 8 double hook or triple hook, which I find works perfectly for this fly. So I fish it loose hanging with the hook hanging freely so that it won't tangle too much with the Zonker wing. And I fish it very lively with a lot of movement, a lot of stripping. And yeah, I think you should give it a try. I have this as one of my absolute favorite flies for spring salmon fishing in Denmark.